Sometimes it's helpful to name the thing out front that might be distracting, and though many of you may not be able to see it from there, I have a big Band-Aid on the side of my face. My dermatologist wanted a closer look at a part of my cheek, and he got it. And then stitches were required. I think, this is just me, I think the stitches make me look really cool. But the person who I most want to impress in this world, a young lady named Kristen, disagrees with me, so on the Band-Aid goes. But they do look cool. So we got another parable, right? Now you remember parables. We've been in the parables for a few weeks now. You remember parables have a particular job. Parables are here to agitate you. So if you read, I always say this, if you read a parable and you're like, oh, that was so nice, I feel so much better. You've totally misunderstood the parable. The parable is supposed to send you into this agitated crisis and show you how far off the path of love you've wandered. How far out in the wilderness of your own sort of ego drive you are. Parables press us to ask the right questions, questions we don't want to deal with, in order to get us back on course. Y'all remember John of the Cross? Yeah, I know. Isn't that a cool name? Can you imagine stitches and a name like John of the Cross? I mean, that's just like, who is that? With the guy with the stick? That's John of the Cross, man. Whoa. So John of the Cross, I don't think he had stitches, but John of the Cross was a 16th century follower of Jesus. He was just like y'all. He was a follower of Jesus, but just lived a long time ago. 16th century, lived in Spain. So put yourself in Spain, 16th century. That's John of the Cross. So John of the Cross has this really, really great line that I want to give to you right now. The soul that walks in love neither tires others nor grows tired. Yeah. The soul that walks in love neither tires other nor grows tired. The soul that walks in love does not tire others. I often tire others. There are plenty of people in my life who are like, oh God. What? And their friends are like, what's wrong? Why are you so worn out? Hendree is totally wearing me out. I wish he'd walk in love. The soul that walks in love does not tire others, nor grows tired. Do you know that some people tire me out? Do you ever get tired out by people in your life? Anybody? Yeah? Okay. I know you don't have to admit it because you might be with the person who's tiring you out. So sometimes people tire me out. And I'm like, oh my God, why are you so tired? It's like, they're wearing me out. The soul that walks in love. Can y'all feel this? Neither tires out nor grows tired. Parables are given to us to get us back on course. That's the course. Walking in love, that's the course. That's the path. So the parables are provocative little stories told by Jesus to help us walk the tireless path of love. Parables serve as a sort of moral and spiritual compass. So what's fun to do with a parable is to let it stand on its own. So you've heard me say this before, like in this passage from the gospel, right? You have Luke introducing the parable, and then you have an explanation of the parable, right? And in the middle, you have the parable itself. It's just this tiny little story that can stand on its own. In this one, you can look back, it's only 3 sentences. What I want to do is pull it out from the frame and just let it be the parable. And when we do that, what we have is a little bitty story about a widow and a judge tangled up in a scene that I want nothing to do with. But I often get caught up in spite of my knowing better. What are they doing? They're arguing. They're just at each other. It's 3 short sentences. How long does it take you to find yourself in the wilderness of an argument you wish you had never gotten into? Less than 3 sentences? Huh? Are there any honest human beings in this room? I'll be honest for everybody. I had a hard week. I can find myself in these things. I mean, and I'm not trying to get there. It's like, what? 2 key points about this one. This gospel is written and I delivered it in English, right? We're speaking English here. It was not written and recorded 2,000 years ago in English. What language was it written in? Greek. So, the widow's seeking justice, right? That is a very generous translation, justice, of the Greek word, which is actually better translated vengeance. Oh, yikes. Doesn't make her a bad person. It's okay. Human beings often want vengeance. But let's just get real. She wants vengeance. When's the last time you wanted vengeance? And the judge, so that's one point. The judge, here's the deal with the judge, right? He's often called the unjust judge, but look back at the parable. It's not in the parable. Here's what it said about the judge. He's not particularly connected to God or his neighbors. So if you take God and his neighbors out, who's left? Who's he thinking about? Himself. So you got a widow who runs into a guy who's only thinking about himself. The widow wants vengeance, and he wants to be left alone to watch YouTube and think about himself. You know what that feels like? I do. Charming, right? So now do you see when I read this parable, I'm just like, oh God, can I get away from these people? How do I hide? And then I have to go back to it because I think if I'm really honest on any given day, I am these people. I'm one or the other or both. Or I'm tangled up with these 2 people. And the parable reminds me that I don't want to be in this argument. But I feel stuck. Like real world, real life, I am stuck in this thing. And I realize in the middle of it, I'm totally lost. This is a total distraction to the trajectory of love and trust that I want to be on. So the question that the parable invites in me as I get agitated in the best way by this little story is, how do I get out of here? How can I love my way out of this wilderness of acrimony and argument? The soul that walks in love neither tires others or grows tired. Are we together so far? Let me try to put this on the street. I don't know. So a number of years ago, like many years ago, more than 10 years ago, I went on my very first 8-day silent meditation retreat. 8 days. Total silence, relative stillness. First one ever. I'm really excited on the eve of the trip. I'm nervous. I'm a little scared. I'm kind of an active dude. Like, is this going to work? 8 days is a long time to be quiet. So I set out. And what I know now, but didn't know then, is that on these long 8 days, right? On these long silent retreats, God almost always registers someone to attend the silent retreat who talks the whole time. Okay, y'all understood what I'm saying. Like, I signed myself up for it, got on the web, Well, at the same time, God is registering someone, sends this person on full scholarship who is a talker to beat all talkers. Because this almost always happens on a long silent retreat. And because I am selfish and self-centered, I mean, not all the time, but I have great swaths of time in my life when I'm fundamentally selfish and self-centered, I usually take all the talking from the talker at the silent retreat very, very personally. God seems to have put them there on the retreat to test me, to find out how I'm doing with my patience and my ability to love unconditionally. I fail both tests, and he says, gotcha. Eileen was her name. Eileen came over the mountains from Asheville. This retreat was on Mont Eagle Mountain down in Tennessee. And Eileen came over the mountains from Asheville just a few weeks shy of her 70th birthday. I know that because she was saying it as she walked in the door. She came in talking to our silent retreat, and she said, I gave myself the gift of this retreat for my birthday. I'll be 70 in just a few weeks. That's what she told us as she arrived. I sized Eileen up. She was tiny, maybe 5 feet tall, but I could immediately... You ever size somebody up when they walk in a room? Like, I'm not proud of that, but I do it all the time. Oh, okay, here we go. Do you know what I'm talking about? Little bitty thing. And I could also tell, I didn't know what to do with it, but I could also tell that she carried something really big inside of her. Best I could figure on, you ever judge people just right when you see them? Best I could figure on first seeing her, first meeting her, was that her life had been really hard for a really long time. And all the hardship had made her big-hearted. She carried a big heart, is what I mean to say, inside her little frame. And out of her big heart poured lots and lots and lots of words spoken out loud at our silent retreat. Eileen, are you getting the picture? She talked a lot, and, remember I said I took it all personally, and I noticed, because I'm judgmental, that she also skipped many of the meditation sessions. I also noticed, because I could hear it, all our meals are held in silence on a silent retreat. It's 8 days, right? So you really get in the groove. All the meals are held in silence on this retreat. But I noticed as I come into the cafeteria where we're sharing the common meals that before each meal, Eileen has beat everyone in there and she's having long out loud talks with the chef right in front of the sort of buffet line where we're all to get our food. And in spite of my best intentions, come be with me, Jesus, I grew increasingly, y'all, I'm not bragging. I grew increasingly judgmental of Eileen. A few days into the retreat, in the dead middle of the night, it stormed really, really, really bad. I mean, loud, raucous, just bad lightning storm, rain, and I slept right through the whole thing. Didn't know that it happened. Had like I would have sworn on a Bible, no storm. Did not have any idea that it happened. Eileen did not sleep through the storm. I know this because the next morning on our silent retreat, she talked all about her night during the storm with the group and how terribly, she said, the storm had frightened her in the night. By this time, she speaks and we all sort of lean in. Truth be told, she said to our group, circled up, I was really, really, really afraid. And after she said that, I was really, really, really afraid. She looked around at all of us in the circle to see if she could tell if it was okay to have admitted her fear out loud. And the kind old priest who was leading the retreat smiled at Eileen and sort of nodded his head. So she continued. She said, I woke up in the middle of the night with the wind howling and the rain beating down on that metal roof. So loud I thought the end had come. She said, I thought the end had come. She said, I thought Jesus was on his way right back to us last night. So I packed up all my things, everything I brought on the retreat. I packed them up in my backpack in the dark, and I laid them right there by the door in case we had to go and I needed to leave fast. And she said, and then I sat in the little chair in my room. She said, do y'all have a little chair by the door in your room? And she said, I sat down in my little chair in my room while that old storm kicked and screamed and hollered. Then she spoke to one of our other leaders. She said, Susan, I almost came next door and knocked on your door to ask if this place ever flooded to where you had to just up and leave. And Susan smiled at her and she said, well, Eileen, you could have. I almost did, said Eileen, and then I thought, well, I could pray. I mean, that's what we're here for anyway on this silent retreat is to pray. So I prayed. That's what I did, she said to us. She said, Lord Jesus, come be with me and all my friends on this silent retreat in this terrible, loud-talking storm. I trust you. I trust you, Jesus. And you know, said Eileen, she said it to all of us sitting She said, it helps just to pray. She said, I sat there in that little chair by the door, and it helped me just to say, Jesus, I trust you. Then she said, can I share one more thing with y'all? The soft-spoken gentle priest said, sure. Then he said, and he meant it, please do. She said, I just want to say the chef here is really, really wonderful. She said, I have to be on this kind of crazy diet. I'm allergic to almost everything. And every day when I go into the cafeteria, he pulls me aside and he's just been so kind and understanding. He points out to me the things that I can eat and not eat. And he's trying to help me get something to eat so that I don't starve on this silent retreat. And that just means a lot to me, said Eileen. Just his kindness. And there was something in her voice, There was something in Eileen's voice and in her weathered face. When she said to us, just his kindness. There was something in those words, just his kindness, that broke me open. I mean, just totally broke me open, and I could feel in that moment her fear. I could feel her fear and her sincerity as if they were my own. I could feel them all over my body as they were as real and penetrating as a parable that gets you to ask the right questions and look in the mirror at your own actions. And in that moment, broken open by those words, just his kindness, I felt so disoriented, y'all. I really did. I could feel it now. I just felt so lost. And here I was. I was growing to love the talker on our silent retreat. Her simple, verbose way broke my heart open. And you know what it did to it? It made the darn thing larger. I could feel it growing in my chest. She was enlarging. God was using this talker on our silent retreat to enlarge my heart. And I know why he did it. He did it to make room in my heart for her. Because if there's not room in my heart for everybody, there's not enough room in my heart. And in that moment, I realized that I'd been talking as much, if not more, as she had. It's just that my conversation was going on by all the crazy committee members in my own head. And at that, when I realized that, in that moment, y'all aren't going to believe this. In that moment, all my judgments about her vanished. Vanished into thin air. And when I read the parable of the widow and the judge, these two precious broken people, this last week for the umpteenth million time, this time I thought of Eileen. See, the thing that's working against the widow and the judge is they can't see each other. Oh, they're good people. They just are blind. She wants vengeance. She's blinded by her vengeance. And he's worn out from thinking about himself. I wanted quiet. Eileen wanted to talk. That's all. It's really pretty simple. Now, when I saw Eileen, when my heart broke open and I saw her, I could also finally see myself. Does that make sense? And what I saw was two children of God struggling through the storms of life, a son and a daughter, both cherished by our infinitely trustworthy, unconditionally loving God. Simple. And you know, For the rest of the retreat, Eileen talked and talked and talked and talked. And for me, those days couldn't have been more quiet. You see, the soul that walks in love neither tires others or grows tired himself. Amen.